This is a presentation on assessing information needs. Throughout this presentation, I obtained data from a colleague of mine who I will refer to as Kelly. Kelly was asked to provide a list of decisions in a one-to-one conversation. Kelly provided 3 important decisions she would have to make. Number 1 being where she would have to live during the summer of 2009. Number 2 being whether or not she would travel to Japan. And number 3, whether or not she would have to take the GMEs in applying to graduate school. With these decisions, Kelly had to consider important factors. In deciding where she would live this summer, Kelly would have to evaluate how much money is saved, the location of her internship, where her friends are located, and her family's input and opinions. In deciding whether or not Kelly would go to Japan, Kelly will have to see whether or not her friend gets accepted into this international program, her budget, whether or not her job will allow time off for this trip, and whether or not Kelly ends up having an alternative location choice for another trip she would like to take. In deciding whether or not to take the GMEs, Kelly will have to see the availability of graduate school, and if so, if it is available, when she would attend graduate school. Kelly's budget and her career path will also be factors she will need to consider in taking this exam. The following is a list of collated information. This is a summary of common trends found throughout each decision. Of utmost importance, Kelly's budget certainly seemed one that stood out, as the amount of money is saved would certainly direct where she could go and what she could do. The following is a data table of the rankings of all the collated information presented on the left-hand column. The first set of 3 decisions is the decision maker's opinions, while the second set of the next 3 decisions are the expert's opinions. All this information was then averaged together and the range of ratings is provided. As we can see from this data table, Kelly's budget is certainly the number 1 factor she needs to consider in where she will live, whether she would travel, and whether she will take the graduate school exam. Her job location and her time flexibility are also 2 important considerations she will need to obtain in order to make her decisions. From the analysis of this graph, we can extract the factors of optimum importance and factors of lesser importance. Kelly's budget will certainly decide where she can go and what she can do. Whether or not Kelly does get a job, its location and flexibility will also decide if she can travel or whether or not she needs to stay. Of lesser importance are Kelly's family and friends' input, her career path, and her graduate school choice, for they are more long-term decisions and not necessarily short-term. In order to make these decisions effectively for a successful summer, Kelly will have to consider the appropriate and relative factors. Successful methods that were used throughout this presentation was the decision maker expert one-to-one interaction. In this setting, the decision maker was able to provide an open and honest list of decisions to an expert face-to-face. The expert was then provided the opportunity to ask questions and make sure that the accuracy of all the information was given. Points for improvement, however, was relativity and consistency of the decisions that Kelly provided. Some of her decisions were extremely important and more short-term than the rest of her decisions. Where she would live this summer is certainly something she needs to decide now, as opposed to her graduate school option, which could be decided at a later date after evaluating the availability of graduate school.